A word for our listeners. Masks of Nyarlathotep is set in the 1920s. We will be using terms and sayings from those times, including some that could be considered offensive. It is not our intention to offend. We merely wish to offer as accurate a view of the time period as possible. Welcome to the Nerds Domain presents Masks of Nyarlathotep. Join us each week as our investigators follow a path of clues and attempt to save the world from an ancient evil. Starring John Quiett, Jestin Kimmet, Shirley Niedzwiecki, George Chimples, Jason Hall, and Scott Troiano, with Matt Quiett running the table as keeper. Eldritch evils and crazed cultists await you just beyond this music.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Masks of Nyarlathotep. I'm here with Shirley.
Hello.
Jason.
Hello.
George.
What up?
Scott.
Hello.
John.
Hi.
And Justin.
Howdy.
Thank you for joining us, one and all.
I was actually going to try to make Shirley go again, but that's okay.
I was about to say that was the first time we went through an introduction without any interruptions, but
There's one. So,
What? I waited until you said, and welcome back, faithful listeners.
we have gone through 2 weeks of downtime officially.
There's one. I just got
Wow,
that.
you're on top of it. So, we're going to have everybody level up their skills. Everybody pretend to roll dice, because we did this off the podcast already.
we were supposed to do that?
So, Shirley, did you increase anything?
Whoa! Where the hell did that come? Oh, see,
Not
that
your
makes me want to.
For the listeners, Shirley rolled the dice onto a ceramic plate with cake on it, and then licked the dice.
So I gotta remember not to borrow
dice
dice.
have been.
Nobody
Dice
borrows
are-
dice from Shirley.
Yeah, no.
It's just
All right,
Way
focusing.
to keep your dice to you, you know?
Focusing. Shirley, did you increase anything? No?
The
Yes.
level of disgust at the table.
I increased like 3 or 4 things.
You want to tell me what those are?
Handgun, ride, psychology, and I'm looking for the marks.
See, dice are more
Occult.
filthy than money.
Don't forget that when you increase the handgun here, it increases the handgun down here.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Was that it?
There was 1 or 2 other things, but I
That was
can't
like
remember.
4 already.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason.
I increased archaeology, first aid, listen, medicine, natural history, occult, psychology, spot hidden, throw, shotgun. Yeah.
Okay. George?
I increased sword, cane, handgun, ride, psychology, persuade, English, Arabic, not occult, listen, hide, and that's it.
Are you a
Scott,
ninja?
you didn't increase anything.
Yes, I did. I increased my sanity significantly along with a number of my other skills by having my other character be killed.
Johnny, you didn't increase anything.
We're gonna bring you back, man.
And Jesse, what did you increase?
Dodge, occult, ride, sneak, handgun, and fisting.
What?
It's what it says.
Yep.
Punch is labeled as fist for some reason on the character sheets. It's
Okay.
inexplicable.
There it
Kick
is.
isn't foot, but punch is fist.
There it is.
Okay. So, Johnny. Father Valentin. Graves. Grave. Father Grave.
Guido Sarducci.
No, it's not Guido Sarducci. Another week has gone by. Have you spent much time at the hospital checking on Byrne? What is your plan
I'm
during that week?
the only contact I'm aware of because Weld and the Cree are in the same state as Byrne, if they're even still around.
They are. They all went back to the States.
Okay. Is Professor Wentworth. He's the only name I have left. I haven't heard anything about Wilkerson, so I'm aware. I know what hotel he stayed at. He told me that much.
Okay, so it's like you want to wait a couple of days and then head that way, or do you want to do that immediately?
I'd want to do that. I was going to do that as soon as we were done with the hospital at first aid, but you got sidetracked by.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Sure.
It happens.
So a couple of days into that second week, did you go for lunch or dinner? Do you think? Or breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I guess. You could also go for breakfast.
I would probably try breakfast and then ask the staff to be the best time, the most common time to find him.
Professor, I assume you're taking breakfast and lunch, or breakfast and dinner at the hotel, and probably having lunch delivered, or buying something real quick to go back to reading.
I would actually probably spend most of my time reading.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to travel back and forth across town for meals and all that.
Right, but you would hit like breakfast.
Breakfast,
Go
yes.
over.
Probably lunch and dinner, no.
Okay.
Like,
So breakfast, I would find you at the hotel.
Probably the
Yeah.
second day of that second week.
yeah.
So you come down for breakfast, and John, how do you go ahead? How do you approach and all that?
Father Valentin Grave, I'll settle on something here soon, is a 42-year-old Frenchman. Who would play him in a movie is Lieutenant Barclay.
So you can tell he's French
Dwight
because he
Schultz.
automatically throws up his hands and surrenders.
Howling Mad Monarch.
Jesus.
Yes, Alan
Surrender
Radford,
monkeys.
Yes.
Lieutenant Barclay from Next Generation.
Dwight Schultz.
So what you're saying
Yes.
is you're going to walk in and we're all going to instantly hate you.
No, Howling Mad Monarch was the best.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, but broccoli was horrible.
That just
So-
shows the actor's range.
Yes.
Well
Sorry.
played.
Go ahead, John. Sorry.
So anyway, you probably see him in the lobby asking around, and then one of the staff would point him in your direction, and he walks up to you and he says, "Excuse me, Professor Wilkerson, Professor Wentworth."
Professor Wilkerson.
No, I'm sorry. I
I
think you've got the
yeah.
wrong name.
Yeah. Professor Wentworth, do I have the pleasure of addressing Professor Wentworth?
I'm kind of going to look around, like spoon to my face, like, who is this person?
My name is Father Valentin. I recently was in contact with an associate of yours, Mr. Byrne. We had an interesting discussion, and now I know that he is in hospital.
I believe he's been sent back.
Well, to a hospital.
Yeah,
yes.
to be more properly cared for.
Yes. I would like to know what happened.
Can you give me the subject of the discussion you had with him?
He kind of looks around the dining room, like, "Are you sure we want to talk about this here?"
Keep your voice low. I don't want to be seen having secret discussions with people behind closed doors.
Very well. He mentioned the issue with the water at the dig site,
Yeah, I'm just gonna be like yes and kind of like wave you past it. Yeah.
and there was going to be an incident X number of nights past.
In character, I'm
this-
nodding along. For
Right,
people
involving
listening.
a sphinx, and that is when he was
Broke
admitted to the
contact.
hospital. Yeah.
Mr. Burns suffered a crisis of sanity due to exposure to certain elements of our mission there. We failed, by the way.
You failed. We're still here.
We haven't failed in our greater mission, but our specific purpose there, we failed. Mr. Byrne was also not the only member of our party to succumb on that outing.
Who else?
Captain Wilkerson is no longer with us.
And he makes a sign of the cross, says a short prayer in French. I'm sorry to hear that.
In character, you kind of see me like, when you speak French.
So it's all true then.
You'll have to forgive me, sir. I'm not sure what it in this context would be.
The story.
I don't know your level of background on what we're doing here. Out of character, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, ancient beings from beyond the realm of sanity and blah blah blah.
Well, for those who haven't listened to the episode, what's your problem? Go listen to the episode where Ian Byrne goes to confession and meets with the priest. But yeah, basically he told him everything he had seen up to that point, and the priest was not 100% believing him, but Ian believed what he was telling him.
He was like, this is bad.
Yeah. So I don't know how to communicate that exactly. I mean, we go without rehashing the whole story, which you already know. So
he was heartfelt in his confessional.
He was.
So you'll have to forgive me. Do you have some sort of educated background in this subject matter, or are you a layman? Or
he's full collar Roman Catholic priest.
I'm speaking more towards the occult in specific.
Well,
like, does he know what a night whatever bad
night
thing
gaunt
would be? If I said night gaunt, would he go, oh yeah?
Well, out of character, no, but he's like, I'm a priest. I can handle it.
I can't. So, I mean, did you want to have a conversation about what he saw specifically?
I would like to know what happened to reduce Ian to the state that he was in, and
actually in character, I'm having like an internal debate on: do I just tell him the truth and see what happens, or do I try to coach this in like more congenial terms that he'll be okay with? Well, you know why we were there, correct?
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yes.
Specifically, could you tell me what he told you?
That some agent of a greater evil was going to rise out of the ground, and
what was her name again?
Nidocris.
Nidocris.
I mentioned Nidocris, and that there was a man named Carlisle who was orchestrating all of these events somehow.
Him or his associates.
Him or his associates, yes.
Well, we went there. We entered the grounds underneath the pyramid and essentially assaulted them in their stronghold. The captain regrettably died. He did not mentally go into a fugue state such as Mr. Byrne, but was physically overwhelmed, and in my opinion likely should have stayed behind, but he was a soldier at heart. Mr. Byrne came into contact with, for lack of a better term or way to explain it, magical powers and entities to which he was not mentally equipped to overcome, and it shook his worldview to the point where he regressed inward into his own psyche and is now going to be looked at and taken care of until he can come back from that. We failed in our mission there.
I don't understand why. I mean, if you failed there, why haven't?
She is not Nyarlathotep. She is a lesser evil.
But shouldn't she be roaming the countryside?
She very well may be. Like, I could not tell you. I wish that I could.
So what's next? I mean, if you failed there,
I believe we're planning to go to Kenya.
You're not going to deal with the problem right here?
There's no way for us to.
So
We don't know where she is. We don't know where they are. We don't know where the cult that supports her is. We don't know what they're doing. We have nowhere to start. We do have the Islamic temple here that is equipped and capable to interfere with them and try to track them down, as they were doing before we arrived. They have soldiers specifically trained in this.
So why weren't they involved in the events of that night?
Because they had been assaulted. It is not the best of circumstances. I can just tell you that outright. We were, in my opinion, unprepared for what we found.
Are you now prepared for what comes next?
Better prepared, yes. It's hard to say that we are fully prepared because we don't ever know what we're going into. We have a educated guess as to what we will face, but we can't say for certain 1, 2, 3 ABC is what's going to happen.
So you are 2 men down. May I be of any assistance?
Well, that is not solely at my discretion.
Who else do we need to talk to then?
Well, my traveling companions would need to meet you and decide for themselves if you have a background that can be of use to us.
Then I would like to arrange that meeting.
Very well. I will pass a note to you after I speak with them.
Alright. And then he gives you his contact information at the school that is near the hospital. So on and so forth.
Okay. Everything, by the way, is really close to that hospital.
Yeah. That is the center of the city for us.
It is now.
It is now.
So, I'd say almost at the end of the week, everybody, after Professor, you finished reading the book and getting everything prepared, it probably takes you a couple extra days because it more than just reading the book, you also had to understand the spells, and that takes a little bit more. You guys get together with the understanding that there are a couple of people that will be joining you for the first time. Catherine, Dr. Whittington is bringing a compatriot of hers, yes? And then there's I assume you would have explained a priest is coming as well.
Yeah, no, I've just told the party that Ian apparently went to confessional and poured his heart out to a priest that we had previously not known existed. That he contacted me, wanted to know if there was any truth to what Ian had told him, and if he could be of assistance and possibly meet with the party to establish good rapport with us and become our traveling companion.
And what do you tell everybody? Shirley.
I tell everyone that I have someone that may be of assistance in the artifact and occult realm, that I've known him for a very long time. He's a close friend, and that Archibald would be more than happy to help us in any way possible.
Professor, give me a credit rating roll.
For me? Or
Oh, that's a good point. Archibald, give me a credit rating roll.
yeah, I was like, why am I rolling for him? What?
Yep. Actually, no. Missed it by 4. Apologies.
By 4, okay. Okay. So you guys set up a night, probably, we'll say the 30th
Of
March. Which would be the day before the end of the week. According to my notes, you guys went into the pyramid on the 17th.
The 17th, the full moon was on the 20th. Right?
Oh, well then let's add 3 days to that and make it April 2nd.
April.
Thanks for helping.
No, that's fine. She just lost you 3 days in an overall year. You're all right.
No.
No.
So April 2nd, you guys all meet for dinner. I assume at a private room at a restaurant.
I don't know. Where are we meeting?
Yeah, we know some people that know some people that will be able to get us a private room.
And did you insist that someone bring along the mask so it can be studied and looked at, or what?
Yes. So I will have a conversation with the board.
There you go.
I'm all for another magic person being in the party, so this isn't an issue for me.
Can you roll your credit rating?
Pass.
Okay. You have heard of the professor. You know that he's from Harvard. It's he's probably one of a half dozen at the top of their field, unless they're in the field. Like, there are others in the field that are better, but that's because they're in the field. Like, he teaches those that are being brought out like that, and he's probably taught a couple in the last decade that have really risen to the top of their game. And then there's some that he's taught that sank to the bottom of the barrel.
Went way towards the skewed bottom of that grading.
So you guys sit your placed at a local, probably British restaurant, well appointed. You're given a private room in the back with one singular waiter who will take care of everything for you, and is also aware enough of money to, when you guys are having a conversation and it's clearly serious, he just doesn't show up for a little while.
Listens at the door.
Answer is Miskatonic.
Okay.
And just for the record, Miskatonic in these times is Ivy League. It's considered up there with Harvard. It's an acceptable place to go.
Okay.
Just FYI. So who would arrive first?
Not me. I'm going to be bringing a few items with me. So.
Okay.
Archibald and I will arrive first.
Okay, so you guys arrive first.
Ma.
Probably Ma, not too far behind you. The priest arrives on time, I assume.
Yeah.
Frank probably shows up late.
I'm going to be a little late, yeah.
Are you carrying your new copy of the Quran?
I don't take it around with me.
And then, Professor, I assume you arrive right as Frank does.
I'll be carrying a satchel.
Okay. You sit. Everyone is brought wine. There's no ordering. It's just brought to you, and everything's taken care of as far as that goes. And then menus are distributed, and after that idle chit-chat of a couple of minutes, and you guys are introduced. Who'd like to start?
Well, I will introduce the father to everyone.
Okay.
Assuming you're Judeo...
Catholic.
Like
You're Roman Catholic.
Yeah, you're the
priest. Yeah.
order and dogma type.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I will address you as father then.
Do you have a very, very thick French accent, or is it light?
Do you sound like this?
It's one of the languages that I picked up again.
Are you carrying a baguette?
Yeah.
Pasta croissant.
It's tempered. I've learned English and Arabic and German
And
as
Irish.
well. No,
That's a
well,
language,
the Irish,
isn't it?
It
Well,
is a
like the
language, in fact.
I know.
We had a whole conversation about this last night, just like Scottish is also a language.
It is. Hey, how'd that vote turn out? Moving on, we'll talk about that during downtime.
So...
Did you tell him about that? Did you
No.
tell him about our conversation?
No, I didn't. Scott can read. Scott knows.
Read what? I didn't post anything about it.
Minds.
Yeah, I read minds.
It's true,
Punch.
listeners.
So, okay, yeah, so you introduced the question was what kind of accent you have. Go ahead.
It's a moderate French accent, but not.
Ah, Father Grave, parlez-vous français?
And yes, he replies to you in French.
Oui. Je parle le français.
Yes.
So I would just say hi in
And
French.
then,
Bonjour. Qu'est-ce que tu parles
Bonjour.
français?
I also acknowledge that I met with you before,
Mhm.
and that you claim you were Ian's doctor.
I know.
I don't remember.
Well, I'm enlightening the rest of the
Okay.
group that we have met before.
Yes, we have met before in the hospital.
You're going to introduce.
And this is Archibald Lancaster, the gentleman I was speaking to you about.
Lancaster?
Yes, Lancaster.
Okay. Go ahead.
Right?
I heard you said Lancaster. I repeated Lancaster. I heard Lannister.
You did, huh?
No, don't feel bad. My brain went there too, but I was like, okay, yeah.
Go ahead. So,
Do you walk in humming the reins of Casimir?
Do you explain anything else about him?
No, Archibald is pretty... Archibald? Could you let the dude know about
Archibald is...
Introduce yourself.
Introduce yourself, Archibald.
Yes, I help curate the National Museum of Cairo. Was interested in some of the items you might have in your group's possession, and was rather curious to meet an individual who was purported to engage in rather interesting events quite recently in the last couple of weeks.
That would
I believe it would be the professor here.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Archibald Lancaster. Lancaster.
Shaking hands.
Pleasure to meet you. Ah, you guys did it to me. You bunch of
Jackwagons is the word you're looking for.
jackwagons.
Yes.
Well, and Catherine here has been visibly distraught after the most recent encounter, and I
Understandable.
wanted to offer whatever assistance that I could to a fellow friend. We'll call
Has
it
it
that.
been that bad?
Yeah, I was just like, you call her friend in that tone. I'm going to roll psychology. No. So, what is your training and background?
Graduated Miskatonic University, top of my class, at least top third. Not necessarily worth looking into the numbers, quibbling between me and Jonathan. There's always a bit of a rivalry.
Were there only 6 students in your graduating class?
You jest. Funny. Ha 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 ha. The family took me here, there, and elsewhere to continue the furtherance of my education. I was at one point curator for a rather prominent museum on the East Coast. Things there went slightly awry, and I decided that Europe and destinations beyond would be far more appropriate to continue to hone my skills in the curation business.
What museum was this?
Irrelevant now. The National Museum of Cairo is where my feet have landed. I have studied some of the rarer antiquities and enjoy gathering knowledge of more esoteric things of occultish in nature, but have had some brushings with items that Miss Catherine has described seeing more recently. They made me curious, somewhat hesitant, and a little bit overprotective.
Professor and Doctor, can you both roll psychology?
Pass.
Yeah, pass.
Scott, does your character have any sort of accent? Bostonian, Chicago, West Coast, anything? Slightly Southern, anything that would make sense.
So with the pack of car.
I don't know if Philadelphia has...
There's a regional dialect there.
Then Philly.
Okay. So you can tell he is from the East Coast.
I'm trying to
his movement away from what museum might be a professional slight, not on him. So that's something you could easily make a call.
I'm going to. Yeah.
So,
I want to know if he robbed a museum or something because he was a better person.
You would know if it were anything criminal.
Yeah.
That would have come across your desk at some point.
Sir,
Yes.
you're here. I'm assuming Catherine has told you what we're up against, or at least somewhat.
She has made allusions.
And you're interested in helping us?
If your goal is to how to put this, become a hindrance to the individuals or things that have made her so upset, then yes. If your goal is to further their wants and needs, well, definitely not.
Welcome aboard. I'm Frank.
Pleasure to meet you.
What did you do during the war?
What did I do during the war? Kept my head down.
In the States?
A little. Relief, aid. I did some triage under a physician in the north of France, the Alsatian area.
Are you willing to kill?
I'd rather not.
Are you willing to kill? Should the cause justify it?
Well, that's the interesting question, isn't it? Should the cause justify it? I imagine that I would be firmly of the belief that if someone tried to kill me, I believe at that point it's now fully within your realm to kill them back. But that's more of an ethical discussion and question. I've never been put into the situation where I've had to, and I hope not to.
It will not be an ethical consideration should you join us. It will become a very real decision that you will have to make.
In character, I'm like, yes. Nodding along. Like,
You're not side
Also,
are you?
Scott,
What'd you say?
I said you're not side glancing me, are you? Like,
Yeah, I give a little bit like,
me
why did they just
into-
ask if I'm willing to start killing people?
also keep in mind that the gentleman talking to you is a grizzled Chinese fellow.
Covered in bandages.
Covered in bandages. Looks like he could punch your face off.
Right.
I mean, like he's you're very muscular
Yes.
and kind of squat.
Yeah.
It looks like he could wrestle you to the ground and snap your neck without second thought. So you're sitting at table with a priest, two members of society, a guy named Frank who you can already tell is not on the up and up, and a
By the way,
Chinese man who can kill you. You can tell.
and I'm carrying. Like, I'm obviously armed.
Well, while I understand that it's not going to be an ethical consideration, that adds to a list of other ethical considerations that I bring to the table before even contemplating to say, why, yes, sign me up.
I fail to follow.
Catherine, what latitude can I have with...
He wants to know if we're fighting the good fight.
Are we?
Yes.
Catherine, may I speak freely, or would you prefer I...
Archibald, be yourself.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Well, Catherine says that someone amongst the group summoned a demon. The ethical consideration of
In character.
working with demons, using them. The ethical consideration becomes exactly whose side is this group on.
When the word demon is said, the
Really,
priest
Catherine?
perks up and puts his wine glass
There's
down.
still a question about your...
Ma's nodding along with you.
Oh, okay, now you're like, oh, that page. That's we're going to go over that. And that is a primary ethical consideration prior to the question of whether or not I kill, for if you're on the wrong side of that ethical question, well then no, I'd rather not kill and I'll be going.
And I will interrupt.
Not to offend.
It does not offend. This is an important question which should be asked.
Good.
And let me interrupt, Wentworth. You didn't ask us permission to do the things that you did. You didn't ask us if we wanted to be there. You just went ahead and did it, and we still don't know why.
No, Captain Wilkerson said we needed to go. He agreed with me completely.
Yeah, I tried to talk you guys out of it.
Captain Wilkerson is dead.
Yes, but he came back with me from my original contact and agreed with me when we spoke to the party.
So you two made a pact behind the rest of the party's back.
So is Captain Wilkerson now in this conspiracy theory of debased and immoral people?
You were the one that cast the spell and brought the
I'm the one that casts all the spells.
whatever.
Like, I just say that, like, point blank. Like, I'm the one that casts all the spells. That's
Well, this is the only one that I've seen you cast.
fair.
And it brought about winged creatures and some thing that you
We
handed something to
lost focus once,
My
and we
issue-
lost 2 allies. Let's don't lose focus again and lose more.
Well, no, for generalification, my issue with referring to a Nodden as a demon is that it's
Roll
I'm like, damn.
it's a classification that doesn't equalize out.
You didn't
How so?
explain that to us.
We were a little busy and preoccupied at the time. If you would like to attend a dissertation, I can arrange one at the museum for a class.
John, could you roll?
Am I
your
the
occult?
only one that feels this way?
John, can you roll
No.
your occult? And Scott, did you get under your occult? Okay.
Can I roll a cult as well? I don't think I've heard the demon referred to, or the demon. I don't think I've heard.
Yeah, if you have, then yeah, roll that. Yeah.
This is the left forward.
Okay.
Nope.
If you
What the heck is
succeed,
wrong with you guys?
Nope.
okay. So Scott,
Oh,
We're occult characters. They're combat
actually, no,
characters.
you've got some. You've got a lot of occult at the table now. A lot.
Well, yeah, but like I'm at like 80. I don't know what you're at. I assume fairly high. I think she's like 60 to 70 somewhere.
I'm 65.
So,
okay.
Scott, you are aware that Noddins is one of those several things that you would have talked to the society about. It falls in line with those, but it's benevolent at worst. Or no, I'm sorry, it's indifferent at best. Not necessarily benevolent, but it's not
combative.
It's not Nyarlathotep.
Okay. That's not a bad guy.
It's not a good guy.
It's not a good. Well, I didn't say it was a good guy, but it's not a bad guy.
Not necessarily a bad guy.
Can we also have a moment of clarification? Because I think Jason is the player.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you interpret Noddins as being an individual or as being one of several a thing? Cluster?
Well, you told me it was a specific guy.
Okay.
Well, dude is a very loose term, but yes, one dude.
Right.
Celestial entity.
Yeah.
So you reached out to the Noddins.
Noddins is his full name. His name is Noddins.
There's an S on the end.
Much like Chris or whatever.
Well, I just like Noddins as like a plural.
Noddins for
assistance in slaying. What was her name? Nitocris. Assistance in slaying Nitocris.
Which is something we should have never gotten entangled with in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. We know your opinion on this matter.
Well, if it eases you at all, sir. By the way, my name is Archibald. I didn't catch yours.
Chinsho.
Chinsho.
Roll your history.
Oh yeah, warm them up. Well, you got to warm them up. There it is. Yeah.
You understand how to actually address a man from China.
So which one is it?
It's Mr. Ma, or Chinsho if you know him very well.
Well then, Mr. Ma, I can speak from some experience that Noddins is on the moral scale not in the side of evil per se. Ambivalent at worst, beneficial if, as I understand it, the mood suits him. But it's not.
Yes.
But it's not of the father's persuasion of the devil.
Mr. Ma is from the Islamic creed.
Ah,
so it's very black or white issue for him.
Certainly. However, had it been any other name, the conversation would have been very short for me. I wish to hear more at this point.
About what? Quite a bit.
Start at the beginning. When you get to the end, stop.
Okay, in character, I will tell our tale.
So you guys are there, honestly, for probably 30 minutes, and finally the waiter breaks in. When you're hitting a stopping point, brings you your food. It leaves again. It leaves you alone, other than to quickly fill drinks if they're needed. And he finishes his tale. Probably takes 45 minutes because you hit detail and all that. So just as a reminder, a couple of really important things to keep our listeners on base. You were in New York. Jackson Elias was killed. You found the Juju house. You killed the priest there. You went to go kill Gavigan in London. That's the only reason you guys went to London. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yep.
Mr. Byrne was captured. You took care of that. You went on some stupid side quest with the werewolf.
Killed some guys there.
Yeah. Then you came to Egypt on the way. You lost Mr. Botticello. Fought some deep ones. You got here. Things got weird.
By the way, I will tell you, I have the skinned flayed one. Like, I have this skin.
Oh, yeah, deep one, not flayed one.
Yeah,
They're totally different thing.
Yeah, sorry. I have the skin from the deep one.
So an actual.
Go ahead. Finish this.
Like cut in.
Well, no, as like I'm not bullshitting you. Like I'm telling you the truth. Like I can prove it. I have the skin.
Yeah. So you guys, 2 other members were lost to insanity, which you kind of heard. You've heard the doctor talk about. Mr. Father, you actually have also heard that part of it. After that insanity, the group decided to go take care of Gavigan again. Turns out not necessarily Gavigan, some other dude. Oops. And then that's when you assaulted the pyramid, or below the pyramid, and how badly that... Oh, I'm sorry. You assaulted Omar Shakti, which both of you, both the father and Archibald, are familiar with that name.
Oh, yeah.
And that he's not in fact dead. And then it turns out he wasn't dead, because he came back, but turned to sand. That's strange all by itself.
Are we still hearing his name in the last week or two?
Yeah, he's perfectly fine.
That's what I thought. Okay.
I mean, he's just a businessman about town. And then they assaulted under the pyramid. This Captain Wilkerson is dead, and Ian Byrne has lost his mind. And along the lines, they picked up here, there, and everywhere.
So, an actual werewolf.
Yes. What can I do a psychology? Because I don't know what their facial expressions would be through various parts of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Don't even have to worry about it.
Okay.
I assume you're both.
I'm surprised.
I was like, the what?
You guys, I assume, are both taken aback, but somewhat prepared. Like you came into this with the idea that you were going to hear something.
I've heard
fantastic.
this story before.
Yeah,
I'm not.
No, and maybe not necessarily the same beats and the same
but
details, but yeah,
correlates with what you've already heard.
Yeah.
Details might slightly
but
differ,
I'm not
but
gonna
yeah.
nitpick.
Byrne might have said something about.
When I tell the story, it's like I'm giving a lecture. There's no like, oh my god, this happened.
Oh, he's turned into a sociopath. That's so wonderful.
Father.
That was
We all did that.
I didn't kill a town. Wow.
If I understand things correctly, I told you what was going on, correct?
Yes.
Who?
Ian.
Okay.
Ian. You're willing to help us stop this?
There's something going on here that needs to be handled, yeah.
From my personal viewpoint, I simply thought having a priest along to keep everyone...
I agree. It's good.
Keep
to have
everyone
people.
what? Please finish the sentence.
more on point, less fractured.
So group unity is your
Moss
goal
snickers
now.
audibly.
Oh yeah, you're like, priest, what? No,
And while Archibald is taken aback at several places, you get the sense through some of your other discussions about storming the castle, the pyramid, and things that you saw, and perhaps some of the stuff that you saw on the ship, where there's a light of some degree of recognition, mixed with the idea of, oh yeah, that could have gone a lot worse.
Scott, give me one Cthulhu roll.
Can I roll psychology so I know? Like,
Nope.
I've known. Oh, okay.
Give me a number.
45?
Okay. And yours is 15?
Yes.
Okay. So you are familiar with deep ones.
Mm-hmm.
You are not familiar with whatever the bat creatures are. I think we already established that, but you are not. You know the two aspects of Nyarlathotep.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what that was that Gavigan used to cast, and it kind of sets you a little on edge that the professor can cast it as well. Just because that means there's that power there.
yeah, well, I would have made it clear that I picked it up from seeing him do it.
Yeah. The werewolf, you heard about potential for this, but never heard of it actually happening. Just rumors and rumors.
Oh, that was just me poking at him.
Okay. But I'm just letting you know as far as Cthulhu goes. And it has nothing, as far as you know, to do with Cthulhu mythos whatsoever.
When I respond with...
and the things that came out of the wall, that's concerning.
Yeah.
Because that, if you understand that correctly, that means any bas relief with those kinds of things could be animated in that same way.
Right.
And that covers your...
And you kind of conclude up, and then we went back to the hospital, and these people were dead, and those people were crazy, and we lost half of this, and the first question I ask is, so a werewolf, eh?
And to answer
what is your response to that when I throw that out there?
Yes.
Fair enough.
And in response to you, Shirley, about psychology, to see what that aha moment, or that recognition is, clearly he's studied more than he's ever talked about with Cthulhu. I'm not even going to make you roll it. It's just kind of obvious.
So that brings us to what happens next, I imagine. Now that we've heard what happened before.
Yes.
What happens next?
I believe our intent was to move on to Kenya with the cult of the Bloody Tongue and the Black Mountain.
So, if I may, I understand why you want a young priest and an old priest. Not sure which one this is, but I understand.
Period.
I'm sorry?
A priest, period.
Preferably two.
Well, in a given situation, his moral outlook will be pulled.
I sort of understand why you would be here. I've heard of you. I know your reputation to a degree.
That's refreshing.
I understand why Miss... I understand why Miss Catherine is drawn to the subject. But Frank and Mr. Ma, how did you two get folded into this?
I was employed as a guide.
Frank is also a former student of mine from years ago.
And yes.
So he made contact with us through an agency of Captain Wilkerson when we arrived as a local guide. It is happenstance that I actually know him.
Unfortunate employment assignment, eh?
That it is.
If Frank tries to tell you something, don't buy it.
Don't listen to a word he says.
Fair enough. Mr. Ma?
Courtney Weld was an employer and a friend.
Understood. Well then. I would like a little bit of your time, Professor, perhaps later in the evening after the group is broken up, to discuss a couple of these things in a little bit more detail. To be perfectly honest, I'd love to see that skin, just from pure curiosity. Not that I don't believe everything that you just said, it's just that I'd like to see it a little bit more in detail.
Any mention of what I'm actually holding on to was totally glazed over. Like, because I've never discussed with the party, like, oh yeah, I have these magic ninja sticks.
Oh, right. No, but they know about but you were told about the books.
Yeah, like, it's obvious I'm holding on the books, but, like, the
headband.
The bowl headband, the scepters, the plate for the...
And the headband's the tiara, correct?
Yeah.
Did you get Wells' lion paws?
Oh, crap, no, I didn't.
Yeah, you guys probably picked those up. So
Really?
You're going to ship him. He's not going to a mental institution carrying lion paws.
Okay, well,
Somebody
yeah,
would grab
I
that.
have a pair of magic ninja lion paws, then, sure.
And Miss Catherine, again, taking liberties. Yeah, I'm free to do so. Miss Catherine did mention something about a mask.
Yes.
I would like to stay after and study as well.
Do you have the mask?
Yes, I do.
You have it
However,
here?
Yes, I do. However,
May I see it?
I would like to warn you in advance not to put it on.
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
Well,
anyone that would
shortly
put the
after-
mask on is a fool.
Now, yes. The agency involved in it that allowed you to reach out towards Noddens is no longer present. He removed that after we failed at the pyramid. So any attempt to put it on now would only end in your mind breaking to some degree.
Well then, thank you for the warning.
I will pull the mask out of my satchel.
All right, everybody.
Backing up away from it.
Do you hand that over?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to, like, get very far from him, but yeah, I'm going to hand
Oh
it
no,
over.
he can set it on the table.
Are we seated like this where the father and Archibald are sitting together?
It's probably
yeah,
since
just to
they're
say
new
yes.
people, yeah.
Okay, kind of gives you guys the ability to interview them both at the same time.
Yeah.
That's fine. So when you grab the mask and bring it over, do you...
I don't grab it.
No,
I'm
I
not
just-
touching it.
I
Your
do.
father wants to grab it. Yeah.
Okay. So you're both close enough that you can look at it, and I assume you hold it kind of over so that the Archibald can look at it as well. Both of you can give me a occult rolls. You're not even looking at it?
Nope.
I thought you wanted to study it.
Yes.
I do.
Archibald.
I'm doing that right now.
It's empirical study. What happens to me?
Right. What happens to Father McWingnut when he goes "Bleh!" and when he touches it? No, I'm studying right now.
Okay.
It seems to be missing some marks on the front. That's the first thing. Just seems a little. There's like a quarter of it that's not marked appropriately. It is a mask with horns, no straps, so you're not even sure how that would even hold on. There's not even like rings for straps or anything like that. You're not sure how this works. Although sounds
it's
of
been
it
described.
sounds the mask itself is wooden of African. I assume you did make your occult,
I did.
right? Of African making. It's probably a couple hundred years old, which is strange for wood to really survive this well intact. But if it's magical, like they say, then that makes sense in some weird way.
It's just well preserved.
Yeah, you've heard rumors of such things that either the church has grabbed and destroyed, or gotten rid of, or fought against. But those are only rumors, and usually only told in hushed tones. No one really talks about it. You feel no compulsion to put it on. You feel no compulsion to do anything. It's just a mask.
And I point out, the markings on this side. There should be some. It seems incomplete.
As I said, Noddens removed those markings after we failed.
Ah, interesting. Put the mask back on the table.
And the father and I look over.
His face does not melt off.
Psychology. Father seems to be holding together.
Roll it.
Are you keeping them warm?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
13. Made it.
He's perfectly fine. Other than probably curious. He's very curious about the mask and what's going on with it, but other than that, nothing untoward. He's a priest, that's what they do.
Then I pull out a jeweler's loop, and now I'm going to look at the mask. Am I compelled to eat my own children?
It was
Place me upon your face.
It was probably hand carved. There is a little bit of inconsistency as far as it's not machine done. You've seen some of that, some machining done. So it is very old. The wood doesn't look like it's decayed at all. It looks like it's probably, from the markings and everything you're seeing, it's a couple 100 years old. It looks like it was taken out of a tree maybe 3 weeks ago. If you had to, you had to guess.
Right.
Nothing strange, other than it's clearly magical and it's clearly not decaying. And there's no straps. But other than that, it's
then I'll take a piece of silverware and pick it up by an eye hole and set it back in front of the professor without touching it.
Sure. Okay.
I'll pick it up like a bowling ball, essentially.
Are there other artifacts within your possession of potentially a mystical nature?
Yes, of course.
May I be privy to them?
Well, we would have to adjourn to another location.
Oh, of course. Wouldn't want to do that here.
No.
Okay. Well, that'll do us tonight for Nerds Domain Presents Masks of Nyarlathotep. You can find us on Facebook and on Twitter. You should head over to the website and get on the right-hand column, sign up for our newsletter, and get all the news that is fit to send out in a newsletter.
Get you some.
That comes out. That comes out once a week. Keeps you up to date on what we're doing and where we're going, and gives you little tidbits about what we've been excited about. So check that out. Definitely sign up, and you can always find our shirts over at /loot. We will talk to you guys real soon.
This has been a production of the Omega Nerds Network, the network where it's on.